Well, welcome to the 700 Club. It's being dubbed the storm of the century. Hurricane Melissa continues its trek through the Caribbean. At least 30 people have lost their lives so far.
As officials in Jamaica assess the damage, relief flights are beginning to arrive at the airport. CBN's Jenna Browder reports.
The deadly storm took at least 8 lives in Jamaica. New images show the devastation. Communities underwater, roads blocked, homes destroyed, and more than 70% of the island without power. The storm came ashore Tuesday with 185-mile-an-hour winds, stronger than Hurricane Katrina. Jessica Pope was vacationing on the island with her husband Shelley when the storm hit. She spoke with CBN's Faith Nation.
Every inch of the ground counts. It's just decimated. We can't leave the resort. I don't know what it's like outside of here. I imagine it's just awful.
The day after the storm, keeping all of their windows open to air out their flooded third-story room.
Sandals put all of us in one central building, and then nobody was on the first floor. Everybody's second floor up. The people on the fourth floor, the roof, you were watching it blow off like paper.
Emergency relief flights are now landing at Jamaica's main airport as crews work to reach communities still isolated. Hurricane Melissa is still powerful as it pummeled Cuba and Haiti Wednesday. In Haiti, at least 25 people are dead, most of them when flooding devastated a southern town. In Cuba, 700,000 people are still in shelters. Overnight, the storm hit the Bahamas. Now downgraded to a Category 1, it's still on the move, headed in the direction of Bermuda. CBN's Operation Blessing is preparing to deploy teams to Jamaica, packing food, water, hygiene kits, solar lamps, and water purification systems. Diego Traverso, Operation Blessing's Senior Director of Global Disaster Response, is scheduled to arrive on the island today.
Our team, Global Response Team, is coming together, traveling from all over the world, from the U.S., getting supplies together, packing packages for the families that are going to be affected by this horrific, catastrophic hurricane.
And the U.S. military is sending a team to Jamaica to assess the damage. The State Department has also deployed dozens of disaster relief workers. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, the situation is clearly dire. You see those the video of that devastation, and your heart just goes out to the people who've been affected. Air travel was restricted, the airport opening today. Even the internet was down on Jamaica. It just seems to be power, water, access to food, all the basics of life. If you want to be a part of the relief effort, it's real simple. You pick up a phone and call us and say, I want to give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. A gift of any amount will go to this disaster, and you can be part of an ongoing disaster relief, whether it's the hurricane survivors in Western North Carolina, the earthquake survivors in the Philippines. When disasters strike, our motto is we want to strike back with love and compassion, so you can be a part of it. Simple. Call us, 1-800-700-7000. You can go to cbn.com. There's a place on the giving page. You can designate your gift to Operation Blessing Disaster Relief, or you can text OBDR to 71777. Be a part of it. Be a part of helping people in need. In other news, Israel is accusing Hamas of playing for time by delaying the release of the remaining hostage bodies. John Jessup has that story and more from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That is right, Gordon. Israeli officials believe the terror group is trying to rebuild and reassert control in more parts of Gaza. The ceasefire agreement required the return of all 28 hostage bodies, but Hamas has only delivered 15 so far. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited American troops at a base in southern Israel Wednesday, saying the shared goal with the United States is to create a different Gaza that no longer poses a threat to Israel. He stressed that the Jewish state has the ability to act in Gaza. Israel says Netanyahu informed President Trump of recent strikes before they were launched. Well, a major change in U.S. policy on nuclear weapons tests. President Trump today telling the Pentagon to begin testing nuclear weapons. In a post on Truth Social, the president cited China and Russia's growing nuclear arsenals, writing, "Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis." President George Herbert Walker Bush invoked a moratorium on nuclear weapons tests after the fall of the Soviet Union. Well, the president made that announcement just minutes before a high-stakes meeting with China's President Xi Jinping. The two leaders met in South Korea today. The United States and China have been engaged in an escalating trade war. CBN Asia correspondent Lucille Toulousan reports from Seoul.
Great and friendly is how U.S. President Donald Trump described his meeting with China's President Xi Jinping.
President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship for a long period of time.
Given our different national conditions, we do not always see eye to eye with each other, and it is normal for the two leading economies of the world to have frictions now and then.
At the South Korean air base in Busan, Presidents Donald Trump and Xi Jinping spent nearly 2 hours in closed-door talks, a meeting aimed at stabilizing relations after months of rising friction over trade, technology, and security. The two leaders did not hold a press conference after the meeting. On the plane home, President Trump described the talks as amazing, saying the two nations reached several key agreements. The U.S. will cut some tariffs on Chinese goods by about 10%.
We've come to conclusion on many very important points. Large amounts, tremendous amounts of the soybeans and other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately. On fentanyl, we agreed that he was going to work very hard to stop the flow.
In exchange for President Xi's commitment to tighten control over chemicals used to make fentanyl, China will also end restrictions on rare earth mineral exports, critical for U.S. defense and tech industries, and resume buying U.S. soybeans immediately. President Trump also announced the U.S. would reduce tariffs on Chinese fentanyl-related products, dropping duties from 20 to 10%, a gesture he said would encourage cooperation. But analysts say beneath the smiles, President Xi faces growing instability at home.
I'm not optimistic. More than 37 generals were purged and fired. So all of them are the loyalists for the Xi Jinping. So even though Xi Jinping maintained his formal titles, I think that he lost very important portion of his power now.
Lee also says China's decision to drop its rare earth export weapon, materials used in making everything from smartphones to missiles, is a sign Beijing is under pressure.
Trump, unlike the preceding president, he is a nationalist, America first, but without trading China, trade with the United States, China cannot survive.
President Trump also mentioned resuming testing of nuclear arsenal because other powerful nations are doing it. Both leaders agreed to keep communication channels open and to plan a second summit early next year. Still, questions remain about how long the current truce will hold and whether Beijing can follow through on its promises amid internal challenges. President Trump emphasized that cooperation and transparency are needed to keep the region stable and growing, the kind of partnership he hopes to build with President Xi Jinping. He says that cooperation, not conflict, is the key to lasting economic stability and security across the Asia-Pacific region. Lucille Toulousan, CBN News, Seoul.
Signs of cooperation there, Gordon?
It is a good sign of cooperation, and it's also a recognition just how interdependent we are. For some of us, that interdependence is a negative, and I'll just give you a couple examples, whether it's microchips or rare earth metals or pharmaceuticals, some very basics to modern culture we don't have and we aren't creating right here in the United States, so we're relying on imports. And over the past couple of decades, China's been the dominant trading partner, or Taiwan. So those two are absolutely essential to our economy. On the other side, we're absolutely essential to their economy. And so in spite of all the rhetoric and the political talk, that underlying economic reality is there, and it's good for the leaders to finally understand we need each other. On the other side of this, and I'll just give a real strong note of caution, President Xi, years ago, asked his army to prepare for an invasion of Taiwan in 2027. That's 2 years away, or 2.5 years away. And will they go through with that? If they do, then all of this economic cooperation goes out the window, and you're into a world war. That would be incredible. Maybe the current changes and the generals are a reflection of other people within Chinese leadership saying we cannot do that. But it's a stark warning that he did it, and he did it very publicly, and we should all really be paying attention to that. When he speaks, usually he really means it.